Yes.
No.
Yeah.
This meeting is being recorded.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, Dr. Ohe Alba. Good evening, our distinguished guests and fellow Toastmasters. My name is Akin Oni, and as you heard, I am the immediate past president of this club. I am a professional project manager, a distinguished Toastmaster, and I sit on the board of a number of global professional organizations today. I also double for District 56 as the club quality chair, as well as the alignment committee chair this year. It is my esteemed honor to welcome you to this unique club in District 56, a PMI Houston-sponsored club, Southwest Project Management Toastmasters. You are going to have a blast tonight. There's no denying that fact, because as Mr. President alluded to earlier, this is going to be an unusual meeting. And one thing I've learned, when I go to any unusual meeting, whether within Toastmasters or outside the club, is this: you learn something unusual. All I ask for from you tonight is be with us, listen with rapt attention. I'm sure that there's something for someone during this meeting tonight. I'm sure that by the time we're done, particularly the guests, you will have something to share with us as your key learning. More so, distinguished Toastmaster Carol Reader has gotten a special event that has drawn a number of you to this meeting tonight. The theme of tonight's meeting is something that I am very passionate about: ethical leadership. In my career that spanned close to 40 years post-college graduation, I have been challenged at different continents where I'd worked that, Akin, you cannot tell me that you were born in Nigeria because your level of ethical leadership is just somewhere out there. I didn't learn that in college. I learned it from my parents. And that is the best way, in my view, for anybody to learn ethics. Now, distinguished Toastmaster Carol Reader is going to go lead us into the world of ethical leadership tonight. As soon as I heard that she will be doing this, I rushed to sign up as a Toastmaster, because that will force me to be in this meeting. And the icing on the cake is the fact that, we've got Rebecca here, who signed up very early, and I now know why she did what she did. Thank you all so much for joining tonight. You are going to have a blast. What I'm going to do tonight as the MC of this meeting, I can't do it alone. I've got a team of other functionaries, just in a typical Toastmaster setting. And to lead our evaluation team is a general evaluator, my former fellow club officer, Toastmaster Rafia Safi. Please put your hands together to welcome Toastmaster Rafia Safi, the general evaluator of this meeting tonight. Over to you, madam.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster, for such a nice introduction. I will be your general evaluator today, and the role of my as a general evaluator is to evaluate everything that's happening throughout the meeting. And I'm going to make the note, something that's happening and something that's not happening also. And I'm going to take the notes on the enthusiasm, on the organization, on the delivery, and on an observation of the meeting of all the participants. And I cannot do my job without the help of my team, without the help of my functionary teams. So I'm going to introduce the first member of my functionary team. That's Madam Grammarian. Madam Soma, can you please let us know about your role? Soma, you are muted.
Hello, can you hear
Yes.
me now? Okay.
Yeah, we can
Hello,
hear you.
everybody. Distinguished Toastmasters. Today evening, I will be helping our Toastmaster, our team, Ms. Rafia, and the grammarian, who will be looking for the appropriate words that will be used during the meeting. And also I will also gonna introduce the today's word, which is indecorous, which means improper. So I will be seeing which participants is using this particular word in their speeches, and then if there is any grammatical mistakes is happening while they're giving their speeches. Back to you, Mr. Afia.
Thank you, Madam Grammarian. The next member of our functionary team is our R counter, and today our R counter is going to be Jessica Sun. Jessica Sun, floor is yours.
Thank you, Madam General Evaluator. So I'm the R counter today, and I will note the use of the words and sounds used as crash or pause filler by anyone who speaks during the meeting. Words like the, and also and, well, but, so, all kinds of crutch words that use, but they are not supposed to be there. I will mark them, and at the end of the meeting, I will do a report. Thank you. Back to you, Madam General Evaluator.
Thank you, Madam Jessica San. Our next functionary is our timer. So our timer is going to be today Abhishek. Abhishek, so to you.
Thank you, Madam General Evaluator. Good evening, everybody. Tonight, I'll be the timer for this meeting, and my role mostly would be to keep everybody on check with the time. I know we are doing things a little differently, so let me revise how the timing would work. We will have the panel discussion, which is around 40 minutes show. So I'm going to flash green around 30 minutes. When it's 35th minute, I'm going to show yellow. And on the 40th minute, I'm going to show red. These are all the backgrounds that you will see on my name here. 2 minutes for the panelists to wrap up. We also have table topics, which is 1 minute for green, 1.3 for, or 1 minute 30 seconds for yellow, and 2 minutes for red, 30 seconds to wrap up. And because I'll be the only evaluator, so if anyone can time me, which is 2 to 3 minutes, 2 minutes green flashing, 2 minute 30 seconds for yellow, and 3 minutes for red. Thank you. Back to you, Madam General Evaluator.
Thank you, Mr. Timer. And our next functionary will be our ballot counter, and you will see the display on your screen for the ballots, and you will see it when the time comes. So that was the introduction of my team. So I'm going to give floor back to our Toastmaster. Back to you, Mr. Akin.
Thank you very much, Madam General Evaluator. To kick us off tonight is Carol Reader, Distinguished Toastmaster. And I always like to remember to use her designation because she's not just a distinguished Toastmaster, she is a distinguished human being within our club. We recognize her, we appreciate her. I have a soft spot for Carol, and she knows that. That's why she calls me a cool dude. And I'm cool with that. Now, tonight, Carol has gotten a panel discussion. She has everything figured out. I am going to hand this over to her now to take it away over the next 20 to 40 minutes, according to her. And then by the time she's done, she's going to return control to me, and then I'll take it from there. Over to you, distinguished Toastmaster Carol Ritter, and let's give her a big round of applause, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Toastmaster, and I really appreciate you having giving me this opportunity. A simple definition of ethical behavior is recognizing doing what is right all the time. But applying that definition to leadership seems like it would be straightforward. Ethical leadership is knowing what is the right decision to be done and being accountable for following through. But challenges arise when the decisions facing a leader are very complex and have a result that is good for one side but bad for another side. There is rarely a clear right or wrong answer when making a complex decision. When faced with a challenge that affects other people, the best you can do is apply your ethical framework and approach the decision with a high level of human sensitivity. Or not, depending on where you position your responsibilities to the organization vis-a-vis the human elements involved. Tonight, the structure of this panel discussion will be this. I have developed and asked for scenarios to be sent to me that are complex and that involve ethical decision-making on the part of a leader. I've sent these to our panelists so that they can have a pre-review of it. And once I read I will select from this group of scenarios and ask each panel member to make a comment, tell what they would do, what would be their ethical framework that led them to take that decision. And then after that, we would ask the other panel members, do you have anything to add? Would you do something different? And at some point, we can open the floor for discussions for those people that are in the room. If you have a question at the time, put the little hand thing up on your screen. All right, you've already met some of our panelists. Kevin Cunningham, Bachelor of Science, currently works for Plains Pipeline in Regulatory Compliance Department. He joined Toastmasters Easy Risers Club. Another of our panelists is Jorge Alba, registered professional engineer, Dr. Alba, with 30 years of experience in infrastructure projects. He's been supporting and managing highly complex projects and special programs, such as the Brazos River erosion control, and coordinating public outreach activities with city councils. He is currently president of the Southwest Project Management Toastmasters Club. Rebecca Presses is mother of 2, stepmother of 2, grandmother of 7, BS in psychology, worked as an educator for 4 years, and currently employed as a NASA subcontractor to the ISS program. She's worked for the space program for 34 years. Our fourth panelist is our own president, our past president, distinguished past president of Southwest Project Managers Toastmaster Club, Akin Oni. And let's get right to it. Toastmasters has given us an ethical framework, and it has several filters through which we can, if we have the time, filter the decisions that we want to make. Something that produces the most good and does the least harm. Something that respects the rights of all stakeholders. Something that treats everyone equally, best serves the community, and leads me to act as the person that I want to be. Often, we in business and in leadership positions have the opportunity to make decisions based on those criteria and filters. Sometimes we do not. So let's begin. I'm going to read a scenario here. I heard on a financial news report about a man who held a conference with 900 employees on a teleconference, I guess, at which time he said, "Thank you all for being here. You are the unfortunate ones that no longer have a job with this company. I have to focus like a laser on keeping the company in operation, and I need to cut costs. If you were that man, how would you have handled this? And if different, why? What ethical principle would inform your action?" Jorge, you want to take this one?
I can take this one for sure.
Okay, good.
Absolutely. Well, and I have been in very similar situations before with due to amount of work or economic situation of the companies I have been working for. I have been actually asked to cut some of my employees at one time or another. What I don't think that it should have been doing correctly in this particular scenario, I think it's in the chorus, is to in a conference call with 900 people attending, cut them loose. I don't think that that is sensitive, and I strongly believe that's not ethical. Even though it may take a much longer time, I think managers shouldn't be thinking into efficiency when you are talking or dealing with human beings and human being jobs and needs and their family needs too. So I think what it was wrong in this scenario is to cut 900 people live in a telephone conference. I think that was totally wrong. I don't think that was ethical, and I will have addressed that situation in a complete different way. If possible, I will address it in a one-to-one scenario. I understand dealing with 900 people and one person is probably very difficult, but you could have teamed them at least by offices or something like that, when you can actually go and face them face to face and tell them the bad news in person, not over a telephone conference, not over a telephone conference. That is my position. I don't know if anybody agree with me in the panel or disagree, or you will take a complete different position.
Well, thank you very much, Jorge. Does someone else from the panel want to weigh in on that particular scenario? Kevin, Keen, Rebecca?
Sure, I'll weigh in.
Sure.
I personally don't think there's one right way to fire people. It's a very difficult thing to do. When you're talking about 900 people, that's quite a lot of people. And word gets around the office, as we know, that once you fire the first person, then now you have, could be weeks that people have to agonize over, am I part of that group? And while this may not have been the most effective way to do it, if I were to do it differently, I would follow up with, what is going to happen in their future. We have severance that's going to be paid. We have medical that's going to be honored, things like that, that put people at ease. We have job training programs that are going to happen. We want, we value you as our employee, but this is an unfortunate step that we have to take, but we want to help you make this transition as best we can. Things like that. If I were going to do it differently, I would have done that. He did the Band-Aid approach, rip it off real quick. That way people aren't agonizing over it. But as I said before, there's no one right way to fire people. I don't know if you guys remember the movie with George Clooney, Up in the Air. That was his job. And you could see how agonizing it was for the people.
Yeah.
So that's what I would do.
Well, thank you, Kevin. When I was working, when a senior level employee had to be let go, he wasn't given any kind of an opportunity to say or do anything. The head person in his office would walk in, say, pack your stuff, and they would walk him out of there, making certain he didn't take anything with him. The idea was that if you let fired employees linger for a couple of weeks, they might do some damage to the company. Does anyone think that that might be a consideration now still? Has anybody had any experience with that? Or was that just something that happened in my early years working, that somebody would actually sabotage the company?
I'll take that. I'll take that.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Madam Moderator, distinguished Toastmaster Carolina. I have found myself in that situation before, working in an organizational environment where one of my colleagues was asked to walk into somebody's office and walk him out of the door.
Mm-hmm.
Now, here is where I am with that kind of dismissal. Number one, who is this person that is being let go? Is this person a valuable employee? Why are they letting him go? If he's a valuable employee, What I typically tell our leaders is there is a danger in allowing your competitive advantage to walk out the door.
Yeah.
And as Madam Moderator said earlier, it could do a lot of damage that you can't actually put dollars on toward the company. Number two, as this person really has any issues in recent times, maybe medical issue, is that why they have been penciled to be dismissed in this manner? If that is the case, there are ramifications for that against the company and the world in which we work today.
Right.
If you let somebody go that way, that business will face the repercussion down the road, because you cannot dismiss someone because they were recently ill and maybe they went on an extended medical leave. As long as it's in line with the conditions of service within that company, you cannot just pencil someone down for immediate dismissal upon their return into the workplace. So there are ramifications. And I like what one of my colleagues said earlier, Kevin. There is no right or wrong way to dismiss a person.
Right.
The key thing when we talk about ethical leadership is trust. Do you trust who you are letting go? Are you a trusted leader? Will people trust your judgment even when the chips are down? These are questions that businesses need to answer before they make that kind of call.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Akin. I really appreciate that. That was certainly, I believe, I understand what you're saying. Are there any people in this hearing audience that would have a different viewpoint that want to weigh in? All right, we'll go on to our next scenario. Now this one. For the past week and a half, Karen has let the whole office know about the business she started for herself, offering her computer clerical skills and technical know-how with seniors and college students who either don't know how to use the computer, that would be me, or don't have the time for routine typing. Karen wants to enlarge her client base and realizes that she has a friend who works in the customer service department. Her friend would have access to just the sort of individuals she would like to target. She approaches her friend Pamela, a recent hire, and asks her to provide a list of names and addresses in specific zip code areas. Pam isn't sure about giving Karen the information, but Karen has been a long-time employee. Isn't she entitled to the information? If you were in Pamela's shoes, what would you do? What ethical principle would you rely on in taking action? Rebecca. Rebecca. Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, can you
Yes.
hear me?
Uh-huh.
Okay. Yeah, it's not ethical. They're at work. They're at a place of business. They're receiving money for their efforts to support that business, and they're not supposed to engage in, basically a side job or establishing, a side job while they're at work. Also, handing out the names and zip codes and the contact information of people from a date associated with there is totally against the Privacy Act. I mean, you're basically identifying a person with their personal information, right? You're saying this is Tom. I work with Tom, and here's Tom's address and Tom's phone number, Tom's zip code. And the reason for doing that would be to help Pamela's friend, get her side business going. So, I mean, all of it can take after work. And I think it's Karen who needs to build her business, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes. Mm-hmm.
She needs to do that on her own steam, by her own footwork, and not really cross a line. I think it's a matter of privacy, especially at work. She needs to keep those two enterprises separate, I think.
So you're saying it's an ethical line she was crossing when she was trying to get business information from the company for her own personal use? Would you say that?
Absolutely.
Okay, all right. Does anybody else want to weigh in on that particular scenario? Jorge? You're muted.
Sorry, I would like to what Rebecca was saying. I completely agree with her. But not only is it is unethical, it's also illegal because you are using resources. First of all, you are stealing time from the company because the company is paying for your time and your hours, and you are using that time to work on your own business. That's illegal. And second, you are stealing resources from the company, whether in the form of like a paper or a pencil or whatever that you use for your own business. But also, and more important, in this case, you are stealing the resources of the company in terms of their contacts and the personal information of their clients and all that. So this situation can put this person only on an ethical situation, but also in an illegal situation that can even take her to jail. So I think unless she has express authorization from her managers that she can do that type of work while at work, which I don't think she's going to get that kind of authorization.
Yeah.
I believe as an employee, you have to report that because that can also put you in trouble ethically and legally with your managers.
Oh, thank you very much, Jorge. Now let's go on to another issue. Kevin, a male supervisor who is happily married, asked me for advice on what, if anything, he could do concerning the following incident that just happened to him. He was walking down the hall and passed a female employee when she patted him on the rear end and said, "I really like the way you fill out those jeans." Well, the person whom the male employee discussed it with told everybody in the office, and pretty soon there was a rumor circulating in the whole company. And you, as the manager, got the memo, got the rumor. And if you were the manager, what, if anything, would you do about this? And what ethical principle would you rely on in making your decision?
Well, as a manager, I typically don't deal with rumors. In this case, it might be something that since it's a direct report, I might reach out to them because it could destabilize the office. One thing about something like this is you have to look at, is it a pattern or is it a one-off? And if it's one-off where, for whatever reason, this woman wanted to just have a funny moment or what she thought was a funny moment, it would be one of those things where you would have to understand the entire situation before you can act. But if he came to me and he told me that this has happened and it unsettled him, then I would have to go to HR as his manager. And that's what I would do.
Okay, all right, I understand. So what you're saying that is what I am going to agree with you, although I'm going to ask the other panelists, would you agree with Kevin that he cannot really take action based on a rumor? Would you like to weigh in on that, Rebecca? What do you think? Should Kevin act on a rumor?
Not on a rumor. I mean, he can go and ask these individuals directly, what happened. I mean, this is what I heard. I need to know if this scenario actually happened. Definitely, training is in order. And corporations, companies, large and small, I mean, you have to have some kind of policies in place, really spell out what happens if these ethical lines are crossed. And for some person, it may be more than just a discomfort. It may actually be intrusion in an organization. It may be considered, an offense or like that. So you really have to talk to individuals and really try to figure out what happened, but also as a manager, reinforce, like, you know, you don't put your hands on somebody else, especially in that way. So a handshake or a pat shoulder was not a behavior. And, you know, people used to time ago in the office, and I was in an office full of men in engineering, and they had a lot of things to really apply today, period. So, yeah, I would say that apply.
All
And
right.
training is important.
Thank you, Rebecca. Thank you very much. Now, let's go on to Akin. As the sales manager for a large company, you've struggled to find just the right type of person to take over for a senior rep who is retiring. You've interviewed 10 candidates and selected one that you want to run by others in the organization. He's very presentable, very well received. He's hired for a 6-month probationary period. At the end of the 6 months, he arrives in the office with a distinctly changed, altered appearance. He has a nose ring, an eyebrow stud, as well as a stud through his tongue. You're startled, to say the least. His clients are mostly conservative, older individuals who have been in business for at least 35 years and were well accustomed to the retired rep. What, if anything, should you do? The company does have a dress code, but it does not address facial architecture. And what ethical principle would you rely on in taking action, if any?
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Number one, I will start with looking at this person as a person, not an object. Number two, I am going to place the issue at stake, side by side the culture of the organization. How do we as an organization like to present ourselves to the outsiders? And as my sales rep, if his appearance that I notice now is inconsistent with the way we would like to be presented to the outside world, I will call him into my office and address that head on. I'm going to give him opportunity to see if he may amend his facial look. I will also give him the option that if that is impossible for him, we will facilitate the process of him looking for another job. But I will give him enough opportunity, one, to understand who we are, or remind him if I already told him. Number two, to understand how inconsistent his current look is with the way we like to be projected outside, to the outside world. And then number three, I will give him more than one option regarding what the next steps are. And then we'll see where we go from there. Back to you, Madam Moderator.
Thank you very much, Akin. How about the other panelists? What do you think? What would you think about this? Yes, Rebecca? Rebecca?
Yeah, I said in that regard,
Your sound is
if there
cutting
are
off.
rules regarding how somebody should.
Rebecca, your sound is cutting
Rebecca's
off.
internet is freezing.
I'm just giving my best.
Okay.
Hi.
Your sound is cutting off. I'm going to ask.
Sorry.
I'm going
But
to
I would say. Okay.
say. Okay. I'm going to ask Kevin, what does he think about Akin's approach?
I agree with Akin where you have to address this person as a person. You want to keep them in mind that they're not just a number, that they have feelings and things like that. But the scenario does say there's no policy against facial architecture. So you're setting yourself up for a problem if you use that as your basis for releasing this person to the workforce from your company. What I would do probably instead is just sit the person down and talk to them and tell them we're a conservative company. The facial architecture may inhibit your sales quotas. And if you aren't able to meet your quotas, then that could be an issue down the road. It's your call. And it may be that this person decides, when I make sales calls, I will take this architecture out and I will be more professional. And you come to an arrangement like that. But if you let that person go on the basis of facial architecture and you do not have a policy, then that's a problem. And there could be litigation involved, and you would need to really coordinate that with your HR department to make sure that you have the basis to do what you want to do. But that's how I would handle it.
Thank you very much, Kevin. I remember when I was hiring people, we would take a picture of them. And the idea is, this is how you've presented yourself, and we expect you to continue to present yourself in this way. So, yes, Jorge? You're muted.
Sorry. The big red flag that I see with this particular case scenario is when this person was hired, even though there is not a dress code or a facial code, if you want to say it that way, he acted normal for 6 months during the probation period. And immediately after the probation period, he totally changed his appearance. So what the company also have to be careful about is if he's trying to set up the company for a lawsuit or something, because why this person changed his appearance right after the trial period, after the probation period. So the manager in this case probably have to work hand in hand with human resources to make sure that this person doesn't have an alternate motive trying to take advantage of the company.
That is certainly a consideration at all times. And let's continue on with Jorge. You are responsible for a quality control lab at a chemical manufacturing plant. That's right up your alley, isn't it, Jorge? The plant has recently been awarded ISO 9000 certification, mainly due to your efforts. Quality of product has taken an uptick with very tight control limits and very few excursions out of specification. One has happened today. The product is out of control limit and must be adjusted, which cannot happen until a missing raw material is delivered tomorrow. As the product was to be delivered to a ship docked in Galveston today, it is critical to sales that the product go out the door now. Ships do not wait without heavy fees, if at all. A head salesperson calls your lab tech and tells her that if the product doesn't ship today, heads will roll. The lab tech brings the problem to you. How would you handle this? And what ethical consideration would you rely on in making this decision?
This is a very difficult situation because I understand that if the company doesn't make the sales that they promise and on time, they may lose a client and they may lose an important client. But at the same time, if they deliver a product that doesn't comply with the specifications and requirements, not only they could lose that client eventually, they may even incur larger costs because they may have to replace that product that they knew it was effective. And even further, if the product is something like, for example, food or some type of product that, but not complying with the requirements, may get people's life in danger, it's even worse. It's even more unethical. So I think that the first thing that the manager has to decide is if he is willing to deliver a product that doesn't comply with the requirements and the pre-certification they have, versus losing a sale or losing money on a sale. And I've been on the side that sometimes the salespeople are pressuring because all they care is about the sale. But as a manager and even as a company owner or president or whatever, you have to make sure that you are delivering the product within the specification that you promise your clients. I believe that's more important than the ethical behavior.
All right. Does anybody else want to weigh in on that?
Sure, I'll take a stab at it, Carol.
I beg your pardon?
I'll take a stab at it.
All right, Kevin. Thank you.
I certainly agree with Jorge that you want to deliver the product to the specification that you promised to your client. In this case, it appeared that there might be a little bit of wiggle room. with the product because of the specification that it was out. In that case, I think it's worth a phone call to your client and to discuss, we have an issue with this. We can discount this product to you and ship it today and see if it works, or we're going to have to be a couple of days late. So there might be some wiggle room there that you would want to work with your client, but I agree with Jorge. You cannot ship a product out of spec without warning them that, well, for one, that it's out of spec, and two, that it's going to be late if they have to reproduce the product. That's how I would handle it.
I think that sounds like a reason. Anybody else have anything they want to add? Does that sounds pretty reasonable, right? Anybody?
Yeah, I agree with Kevin and Oe.
Okay.
However, one thing that I would say is this: the decision that is taken, or the path that is treaded on this, is a function of the culture of the company. If the company's culture is an overriding commitment to quality, there's no reason to ship a product that is off spec. No reason. You can call your client or your customer to apologize and see if there's any wiggle room. At the end of the day, if the broader business, they fire you because you couldn't really ship a product that is off spec and you couldn't ship this on time, they can fire you, but they're not removing your certificate, they're not removing your ethic, they're not removing who you really are as a professional from you. If they let you go because of that today, you'll get another job tomorrow. Except as professional, we work that way. Businesses will push us, because this happens in the project world. They will ask you to reduce the cost of a project because they just don't want to pay what you believe is supposed to cost. As same project manager, I've been in that role, wherein I said, okay, you can find another project manager. I will not be able to deliver this project based on these metrics that you are setting for me, not based on the estimate and the timing that I have developed. Back to you.
Thank you very much, Akin. I thoroughly agree with everything that each of you has said. That particular scenario happened in my laboratory at one time. We held the line, I have to tell you. I was very proud of that. All right, let's see. Rebecca, do you want to answer another one? Do you think your mic is working? Huh? You work in a small workshop involved in packaging toiletries to ship out for charitable organizations, to veterans facilities, nursing homes, sometimes prisons. You've become aware that one of your coworkers is pilfering items from the stock. You approach him and ask, hey, what gives? He replies that he can sell the stuff online and it boosts his income. You're aware that the workshop is struggling to make ends meet, and there may be layoffs in the future, which will affect your job. What would you do about this situation, if anything? And what ethical principle would you rely on in making your decision?
Yeah. So stealing online from the company, his own gain, and I could not stand by what happened, even if it meant, you know, the whistleblower maybe gets kicked out. I don't know, stand by and let that happen. It's the company, it's bottom line. And if somebody stealing, it brought to light, they be allowed away with it.
So you're saying you would be a whistleblower, right? Are you saying, Rebecca, you would be a whistleblower on this fellow?
100%.
100%.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Would anybody disagree with that?
Yes. Yes.
So
It's stealing. It's stealing.
Soma, do you have something to add?
I totally agree with Rebecca. That's
Yeah.
basically this is stealing, clear and simple.
I totally agree with Rebecca because stealing, particularly products from office, that cannot be acceptable.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
And particularly down the line, if that is affecting somebody else's job, then never, no.
Okay. A friend of mine worked for the post office, and she said someone was taking coupons that should be going to the mail customers. And she told him, if you continue doing that, you're going to get caught and be fired. Would someone have spoken with the man first and said, don't do that, you're going to be caught and get fired? Would that be the more ethical thing to do? To give him an alert in advance that he was treading on very thin grounds?
Yes, I think
Yeah,
so.
but
Okay. Mhm.
yes,
You can tell the
absolutely. But I mean,
people sometimes they don't even want to hear what you are telling them because they know what they are doing is wrong.
I guess that's probably true. Let's see if we can have another one. We have time. Do we have time for another one? We have 4 minutes. Let's see. Here's one.
I believe we do.
You're in accounting and have looked for an acceptable candidate to take over a portion of the receiving department, mainly dealing with receipts less than $500. These are small items from Walmart or Home Depot or other hardware stores, and they're purchased on company credit cards on an as-needed basis by the workers. The company pays the supplier, turns around and bills the client with a 10% pass-through charge. Only one candidate has applied. The salary's not great. During the interview, the candidate confesses to a time in prison for kiting a check. She emphasizes she's done her time and sees the light. She's changed person. She did it when she was a kid. You decide to take a chance on her. Her work ethic is stellar. Her workspace is tidy. She keeps up with the workload, which is in busy times can be fearsome. About 3 months after she begins work, the company realizes there's been a hacker that has stolen their customer database and is issuing invoices requesting payment. The company owner comes into your office in a rage. You hired a thief. I want her out of here. I don't care how you do it, but get it done. What would you have done, Kevin, in this circumstance? What ethical principle would you rely on in taking action?
On the basis of her performance, I would defend her. I would tell my boss that you're innocent until proven guilty. There's no indication that this person did anything illegal. Hackers have numerous ways that they can infiltrate your network. And until we can come up with something more concrete, I will not fire this person.
All right. Well, I believe that our time is up. I'm looking at the timer's clock, which is now 38 minutes. Thank you all for your participation. And if anybody has any additional questions, put your hand up and we can respond. Thank you for responding also, Soma. And I really appreciate the time you all spent at this. I hope we've elucidated a little bit the conundrums that are associated with ethical behavior and let me see, what is our word of the day? What was it, Jorge?
It's indecorous.
The indecorous behavior of some of our people in some of these scenarios. Thank you all very much. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Let's put our hands together for distinguished Toastmaster Carol Reader. 39 minutes and 51 seconds. Wow, what a performance. Excellent, excellent performance. So with that said, I don't think that we need any timer briefing speech because we know it's 39 minutes and 51 seconds. And so she finished it within the allotted time. And with that said, please, let's take a minute, that's 60 seconds. And Mr. Timer, it starts now, to provide Carol a direct feedback. You can use the chat box to send a lovely note to Carol. What you like, what she may want to improve on, perhaps what she should do again. We're already about 10 seconds into it. Let's provide Carol a very friendly feedback. And I'm going to ask our table topics master to be getting ready. We've got less than 30 seconds.
Time.
All right, thank you, Mr. Timer. Now, without further ado, we're only 3 minutes behind the scheduled time. We're just going to reduce the number of table topics as appropriate. With that said, I'm going to now call on our table topics master for the night, Toastmaster Tosin Esho, one of our club officers this year. Let's put our hands together for Tosin. Are you there?
Tosin?
Okay. He may have stepped away from his computer.
Yeah, we may have lost him, but Mr. Toastmaster, I have some topics ready to go.
Yeah,
I
so
can take
he's
if you
still
need me
on,
to.
but yeah, go ahead. Go ahead with the topics that you've got.
Okay.
And let's make sure that we hear from our guests as we do these table topics.
Absolutely. I'm going to get our guests involved tonight.
Thank you very much. Over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. So let's have, I mean, since we have kind of a very heated, interesting discussion, let's go into a little bit more of a lighted topics for our table topic master. So I'm going to really ask some easy questions, no right or wrong, just give us your best. So you know that you have from 1 to 2 minutes to answer. So our timer will be timing each one of the responses. Stay on the 1 minute, try to stay above 1 minute, no more than 2 minutes, I'm sorry. So 1 to 2 minutes, that will be your response. So let me start with Inda, if you don't mind.
I do not see a timing window.
It will be on the timer.
There's a green square with a 0 in it.
Mr. Timer, can you time us? I lost you. Okay.
I'll just wing it.
Okay, it's right there. Okay. So the question for you will be, do you think that driverless cars will be a good thing or a bad thing?
That depends on whether you're in the path of that driverless car or not. There's a store here near where I live that put out a series of these little cars. They have lockable sides. You get a code number and you can punch it in and get your groceries. I thought that might work for me, but when I saw it, I said, And just on the performance basis, not even safety or what might go on in the future. The difficulty is that I have mobility issues. And this little vehicle drives up your driveway and sits there. Now, how am I supposed to get down to that area and pick the things up and make more than one trip before everything that has ever been cold is no longer so? So I think that we've got a long way to go. I do believe that drones save us a lot of effort now. The geological imagery that we're getting from things like that are just amazing, but those are generally not completely autonomous vehicles. So I think it's a baby that needs to grow up first before we rely on it. Many thanks, Mr. Table Topics Master.
I was talking with my microphone mute. Thank you very much, Inda. And again, I think the technology still have a ways to go. And obviously, even if it's a machine, requires some human behavior, some human programming. So I guess it's like everything else, still probably needs some development. All right, the second question of the evening will be directed toward John. John, very easy question. If you could meet any person in history, who would it be and why? Your microphone is off.
You're muted,
Yes,
Joanne.
you're muted.
You're muted.
Me,
Yes, yes,
c'est
yes.
moi? Okay. Well, if it were a live person, I'd have so many choices that I might really be troubled to choose one or two or 10. But if it were anyone in the history of Houston, I have lately been having conversations with Mr. Sam Houston, who stands in the park, in Herman Park, with his arms out stretched, entertaining pigeons. And I have felt that I would like to hear his opinion of pigeons, as well as, and more importantly, how has he seen Houston grow and change? He's been standing there a long, long time, and he rode through before Houston was paved, probably. But that would probably be my first choice, to have a conversation one-on-one with Mr. Houston. I beg your pardon, General Houston. And thank you for the opportunity of asking. I'll go to sleep tonight wondering who live in person will I talk to. I've never met anybody I can't talk to, so it's be pretty easy to find someone in Houston to chat with. Thank you for this.
Thank you very much for participating. Very interesting answer, definitely. Absolutely. All right, Natalie, are you with us? Can you open your microphone? Maybe Natalie is not there. So Kevin, let me pick on you. I think you're going to find this question interesting. If money were no object, what would be your dream job?
If there was no object, what would be my dream job? A basketball coach. I'm 6'4". I love basketball. I had to hang up my sneakers a few years ago because my knees couldn't handle it. I miss it so much. I enjoy teaching kids how to play. I taught my daughters in Upward Basketball, which is a program through our church. And when I lived in Tulsa, I think they may still have that program here. I also coached them when they went off to intramurals in junior high, had successful teams, and it was just a lot of fun. One of the best stories I have is there was a girl on one of my daughter's team that had a Williams syndrome, which is a mild form of Down syndrome. And she had trouble catching the ball, throwing the ball, dribbling the ball, shooting the ball. The very last game of the season, she got a rebound, dribbled coast to coast, which means she went from one end of the court to the other, went in and rolled in a layup. It went around the rim and fell out. And I went, God, please. That was just, but the fact that she did that, and at the end of the game, her parents came up to me and they were weeping. They were so happy with how she had, in one season, had gone from where she could not do any of those things to where she did it really well. But I wish it actually happened in the church. I wish God had seen that and had pushed it in. But it was still, it was an awesome moment. I would coach basketball.
Awesome. Yeah, that's a great job to do, because you make a difference in other people's life. Definitely. And believe it or not, I worked many years ago. I met this engineer. He was working for Harris County Flood Control District. He was managing a couple of my projects there. He quit his job as an engineer to go become a football coach in a high school. Yep. And he's still coaching in high school.
Good for him.
Yep, absolutely. So I bet you will excel at that one. Mr. Tamer, do we still have time for another question?
I think
Mr.
we
Toastmaster?
are almost there. Mr. Toastmaster, what's your opinion?
Yeah, we have time for one more.
One question. Okay. So
sir.
anybody wants to volunteer? Raise your hands before I choose somebody. What about you, Jessica? You haven't intervened tonight. You have been very quiet.
No, I just saying that we have two guests, Rebecca and Natalie. Maybe try.
I know, but they are not answering. And Rebecca was one of the panelists, so I don't want to pick on her anymore.
Okay.
Just a simple one, Jessica. Yeah,
Sure.
I know you know the answer. I know you know the answer. Very simple. If you could master any skill you wanted to master overnight, what would it be?
Okay. If I have a skill, what I want to have. One of my hobby is gardening. And you guys see, some of you have seen my presentation for orchid and all the other, actually I did 2 presentations on orchid, but that's an indoor plants. And I have a lot of outdoor plants too. And in the summer of Houston, especially for weeks and weeks of temperature over 100 degrees Fahrenheit, it's really hard to keep all my plants alive. And especially when I travel to somewhere else for 1 week or 2, even I have my neighbor to help me out with my watering my plant. And I also have the system to automatically irrigate those plants. When I came back home, I still find more than 10 plants died. I mean, some of them died, some is really bad looking, but eventually I was able to make them alive. So if I have a power, I would like to be able to let rain, a rain power. So when I want to be able to have rain, then it can rain. Back to
Wow.
you.
Thank you, Jessica. Yeah, definitely. We need rain. So if you can make it rain, we'll all go for you. We'll cheer for you.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you very much, Mr. Toastmaster. So I think that's all the questions I have for tonight. So I pass the control back to you.
Thank you, Club President, Dr. Oehalba. Next on the agenda tonight is evaluations. And I'm going to be turning it over to our general evaluator for tonight, Toastmaster Rafia Safi. Rafia, the floor is completely yours.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmasters. So we are entering towards the 3rd segment of our meeting, that's the evaluation. And today, since the meeting was kind of a little different, so I am going to invite one and only evaluator who has taken the challenge of evaluating this panel. So I'm going to invite one of the past presidents, Mr. Abhishek. Abhishek.
Thank you, Madam General Evaluator. Karen, first of all, thank you for bringing this format to this club. Only you could have done that. And you have done extremely well. Now, this evaluation would be a little different than what we generally do for our speakers. So as your role, which is a panelist, who is someone who stays on the sidelines and allows all the participants to shine on 3 principles: have open conversation, not to target a common opinion to get built, and respecting each other's voices. So keeping that in mind, I am going to evaluate you on 3 parameters. The first one, control on your role and on the participants. The second would be the conversational guardrails that you have put throughout the meeting or throughout your panel discussion. And the last one is the takeaway. I'll sneak in one improvement also. All right, to start with, control on your role and the participants. First of all, you have kept the introduction of the team to yourself. That was really good and very well executed. Why? Because that helps to keep the introduction of the speaker succinct and within time bound. You did that very well. The second thing that you did very well was the handovers, which was open-ended conversation without passing the ball to the other speaker without having a biased tone to it. So you have done a very good job on that one. Now on the conversational guardrails, you did navigate through between the speakers or the panelists extremely well. And then in one case or two cases, you injected your personal story and brought back the reference to the original question that you intended in the first place, which then you re-triggered and re-threw back to the panel to discuss more. That was amazingly done, because I did identify in one or two cases, a few speakers did go here and there sharing things. So very well done. Now for the improvement, before I can go on the takeaways, the first improvement, and this is not like every time you did, only once or twice I did observe that you, while the speakers were presenting themselves or casting their opinion, there were some instances where you were providing your validation to it or you're agreeing to that. In cases like that, sometimes what happens, the next speaker tries to align with that thought, or by mistake that thought process solidifies as if it's the most popular one. So probably you may want to keep away from that. All right, so two takeaways from it. Number one, you chose a topic that was extremely relevant to all the industry professionals here. They have been either on one or the other side of the table. So thank you for bringing that, and congratulations once again. Back to you, Madam General Evaluator.
Thank you. Thank you, Avi, for the detailed and the thorough evaluation. And everything that you said was very true. So before I move on for my report, I would like to ask Mr. Tamer, do all the table topic speakers qualify?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So would you like to show the ballot to us?
I would assume that is a ballot counters.
Oh, okay. So this is going to be our president?
I guess we are going to probably send the who's counting ballots tonight? I don't have that in my list.
Okay, while we are doing that, so let's go and start getting the reports. And in the meantime, so if you want us to write down the name of the table topic speakers, then we can write down on the chat. And who you want us to send to?
Let's send the vote for the best table topic speakers to me. I will collect the ballots.
Okay, let's send the personal message to Mr. Hore, and whoever is the best table topic speaker. So let's send to him, and then he's going to.
So let me remind that we have Inda, we have Joanne, we have Kevin, we have Jessica, and I'm missing somebody. That was it. Yeah, that was it.
That was okay.
Those were the four speakers. Yeah.
Okay, so the ballots, the names will go to Mr. Hore, our president. Okay, now I'm going to move on to my functionaries, and this is the time for me to ask them about their detailed report. The first functionary I'm going to call is our grammarian. So, Ms. Soma, can you please give us your grammarian report?
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. General Evaluator. Today's meeting went really well. The word of today's word was encourageous. I have heard Carol use this word. Akin used this word, and Jorge also used this word. I respectfully listened everybody's speech and panel discussion, and I didn't find any inappropriate use of word or language or manner. Back to you, Ms. General Evaluator.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Grammarian. So my next functionary I will invite is our counter, Abhishek. Please give us your report.
That would be Jessica.
Yeah. Thank
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. Okay, Madam Jessica, yes, please. Go ahead and give us your report.
Yeah, thank you, Madam General Evaluator. So the report I have for Akin, I catch 1 R, 1 N. Rafia, I catch 2 Soma, I catch 3 R. Eddie, nothing. Carol, nothing. Kevin, I catch 1 1 N. Rebecca, I catch more than 5 more than 5 and more than 5 N. You like to use and N, so maybe that's something that you should watch. Jorge, I catch 1 soul. Inda, I catch 1 soul, 1 I didn't catch anything for Joanne. Thank you. Back to you, Madam General Evaluator.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam our counter. Now, the next functionary that I will call upon is going to be our timer. So, Mr. Timer, can you please give us your report to us?
Thank you, Madam General Evaluator. As part of the panel discussion, Carol was just shy of 40 minutes, so very good. For table topics, Inda, you were 1 minute 11 seconds. Joanne, 1 minute 29 seconds. Kevin, 1 minute 41 seconds. Jessica, 1 minute 38 seconds. Thank you, and back to you.
Thank you, Mr. Timer, for your report. Now, I'm going to give you the detailed report of what I have observed during the meeting. So overall, the meeting started on time, and that was a very impressive meeting. That was a very impressive, the panels that you have set it up, Carol, and thank you so much for giving us opportunity to attend this, because for me, at least, it was my very first experience to attend this kind of panel, and the discussions were great. And the panelists, they were very open, and they were kind of very very clear to their opinions, and they conveyed their own point of view very clearly, and it was very well planned. Carol, you did very well, you planned well, and you organized very well. All the panelists were ready. So no, thank you for that. And thank you for the functionaries who, some like Soma, you stepped in last minute. Thank you so much. And Mr. Timer and Madam R Counter and Soma, I already mentioned you. So thank you very much for completing this team. And the evaluator, you did wonderful job. And then you justified to your role. Although it was kind of very new for you as well, or maybe it's new, I'm not sure, but you did great. And it was not easy to evaluate this kind of meeting, this kind of panels. So no, thank you so much again, and I will give control back to Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you very much, Toastmaster Rafia Safi, General Evaluator for tonight. Fellow Toastmasters and guests, thank you all so much for giving us your best performance tonight. It's 7:50, so we've got 10 solid minutes before we wrap this meeting up. So we're back on track. As project managers or a project management institute sponsored club, we should be doing everything to time. So thank you all so much for working together with us for everything to stay on track. A very great meeting. I agree with everything that has been said regarding Carol and bringing and introducing this to our club. This is the first time since I joined the club that I can remember. And I joined this club in 2016. This is the first time I've been a part of this, at least from recent memory. So thank you so much, Carol. That was very, very good. Now, with that said, Mr. President, as the last minute ballot counter, it is my duty to hand this meeting over to you. But before I do, I must announce the winner. So since you have the winner, you don't need to email it to me. In the interest of time, I'm just going to let you announce it. So let's have a drum roll, please, for the best table topic. Drum roll. Best table topics, and the winner is
Kevin.
Okay, congratulations, Kevin. Congratulations, Kevin. That was very good. Thank you so much for coming tonight. Now, usually during our club meeting, before we wrap it up, we always have our Toastmasters why. Why did you join Toastmasters? Is there, let me actually pick on Kevin since he won the best table topics. Kevin, in 60 seconds or less, can you tell us why, what your Toastmasters why is? Why did you join Toastmasters? Or why are you still with Toastmasters? And if you are not a Toastmasters member, I know you are, so that's not even the case. So why join Toastmaster, and why are you still with Toastmaster? Over to you, Kevin. 60 seconds, you are mute. You are on mute, Kevin.
Okay. Oh, there we go. The reason I joined Toastmasters is I used to fear public speaking, and I just got tired of it. So I decided that I would join the organization and see if I could improve my public speaking skills. And it's been incredible. I tell people this all the time. It's the best thing I've done, both professionally and personally, because it's helped me a lot. In fact, I did a speech back in April in front of the organization that oversees, I work for a pipeline company, and we had about 250 people that showed up to listen to me talk, and I actually enjoyed doing it. So I went from fearing it to enjoying it, and it's really good, and you get really good feedback from people like you. Everybody's really kind. Everybody's on the same boat. They want to experience that feeling when you get up in front of people, is to enjoy it and not fear it. That's why I joined Toastmasters, and it's, like I said, it's been really great.
Fantastic. Let's put our hands together for Kevin. Thank you so much, Kevin, for sharing that with us. Excellent. So with that said, I will now turn this meeting back over to Mr. President, who is going to wrap it up. Dr. Alba, over to you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Toastmaster Akinoni. Appreciate it. So before we close our meeting tonight, also a tradition that we have in this club is to allow our guests to tell us a little bit about how they like the meeting, what they think about the meeting, if you think that there are ways that we can improve. So I'm going to ask first, Joanne, if you want to give us 5 cents of advice.
Well, I'm just sorry I missed the first few minutes. This was very interesting, a great opportunity to see another Toastmasters group in action. And like Kevin said, it's become fun to speak instead of a terrifying experience when we've felt comfortable speaking to our peers in Toastmasters. And I'm glad to meet you all. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Joanne. Rebecca, any input for us as a club?
I'm in with all of you professionally, and I am honored to have been a panelist. So great meeting you guys. And
thank you very much. Appreciate it. Inda, how did you like the meeting? Any advice for us? Your microphone is off. You're mute.
You're mute.
You're mute, Inda. You're mute.
It keeps switching itself off. This is only about the third Toastmasters club that I've had the privilege of visiting. I think visiting other clubs is really a good idea, because when you see different approaches, it gives you more choices in how you do your own stuff, and may perhaps lead you to do something that you wouldn't have done in other ways. There was only one thing that I think I didn't like as well here as there, and I'm just being honest. In table topics, we always give the question first and then call on the person, because that makes everybody's brain start to work. If you call on the person and then give a question, everybody else says, okay, I have 1.5 to 2 minutes to sleep. So I do like that. Anyway,
Point
good.
taken,
It was an
absolutely.
excellent meeting. I've not seen this particular presentation before. I mean, this level of presentation in Pathways. And so that was good. Carol is above and beyond us in many ways. Thanks, Carol. And thank you, group. I really appreciate being invited.
Thank you, Inda. And finally, Kevin, any advice for us? Any word of advice?
Well, no, this is the first virtual meeting that I've been to where it's all virtual. And there are some things that you guys do that I think are great. I like the transitions, the way you throw it back to the person, to the Toastmaster. And because at an actual meeting, there's actual applause, and you come up, you shake hands, and you come off, and it's the transitions. It's something that a lot of people don't think about. I also like how people that fill a position put what position they're in by their name, so that it helps the Toastmaster to scroll through and know who to call on. I thought that's a really neat thing that you guys do. I can tell you're practiced at this, and I learned a lot from it. So I appreciate the opportunity to come here and watch.
Thank you very much, and everybody is welcome. Remember, you can join online from anywhere in the world, the second and the fourth Wednesday of the month, and we all will be here. So, Carol, do you have a question?
I don't have a question. I just wanted to say that a panel discussion is one of the elements in the level 5 of almost most of the pathways. This is the second time I've done a panel discussion. The other one was not virtual. This one was virtual. And that's the way it's done, folks. Don't shy away from it. It's an easy thing to do. All you have to do is set it up. Because as the moderator, you don't have to give a speech. Everybody else is doing the speeching.
Right.
So you can just sit back and enjoy it.
You still have to prepare for the topics anyway.
Yes,
so
you have to
do some
prepare the
work.
topics, but that's,
Right.
and I don't have virtual cookies, so.
All right.
All right.
Okay, so before we close the meeting tonight, we have a tradition in this club. We call it the shout out moment, which we basically recognize a person in the meeting that did things way above and beyond what was required. And I think that I cannot think of anybody else at this meeting to be the winner of the shout out moment than Carol. Carol, you really excelled tonight. You did awesome. Your preparation and everything else is like, you are the winner of the shout out moment. Congratulations. And with this, I adjourn this meeting at 7:59 p.m. So we have 1 minute to spare. Thank you very much. And thank you for participating. Have a good evening.
Thank you all so very much. Have a good
Thank
evening.
you.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye.
Good
Good
night.
night.
Good
Thank you.
night.